Kia ora everyone, morena. Welcome to Tawa School Story Time for the 7th of April. It's great that we've got so many people coming online today. I just read some of that fantastic Mr. Fox. It was someone's very first long book that they wrote. That's actually really cool. So hopefully it'll bring back some good memories. So welcome to you if you're here for the very first time. And hello to Shyla and Ollie Winter and Selena. Great to see you guys. Welcome along to the chat. Awesome. We're going to start off for our younger kids, reading Suddenly by Colin McNaughton. I've got a whole bunch of these, which is really cool. So we're going to have a look at that. And then we're going to get stuck into fantastic Mr. Fox. So all these are about Preston Pig, and it's a bit of a follow-up of the Three Little Pigs and the Big Bad Wolf. So Preston was walking home from school one day when suddenly Preston remembered his mum had asked him to go to the shops. Oh, silly me, he says. Preston was doing the shopping when suddenly he dashed out of the shop. He remembered he had left the shopping money in his school desk. Oh, silly me. Preston collected the money from his desk and was coming out of the school when suddenly Preston decided to use the back door. Much quicker, he says. I think you can see what's beginning to happen with the wolf. On his way back to the shop, Preston stopped at the park to have a little play when suddenly Billy the bully shot past him and went down the slide. Hey, ah, oi! Suddenly, Mr. Plump the shopkeeper called Preston back to say he had forgotten his change. At last, Preston arrived home. Mum, he said, I've had the strangest feeling that someone has been following me. Suddenly, Preston's mum turned round and gave him an enormous cuddle. And you can see what's happened to the wolf. We're going to read more of these from this series by Colin McNaughton. There is one called and then there's one called Boo, and another one called Oomph. And it's all to do with the pigs and the wolf. So we look forward to reading more of those over the next few days. All right. Fantastic. About as nasty and mean as any men you could meet. Their names were Farmer Boggis, Farmer Bunce, and Farmer Bean. Boggis was a chicken farmer. He kept thousands of chickens. He was enormously fat. This was because he ate 3 boiled chickens smothered with dumplings every day for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Bunce was a duck and goose farmer. He kept thousands of ducks and geese. He was a kind of pot-bellied dwarf. He was so short his chin would have been underwater in the shallow end of any swimming pool in the world. His food was donuts and goose livers. He mashed the livers into a disgusting paste, then stuffed the paste into the donuts. This diet gave him a tummy ache and a beastly temper. Here's Boggis and Bunce. Bean was a turkey and apple farmer. He kept thousands of turkeys in an orchard full of apple trees. He never ate any food at all. Instead, he drank gallons of strong cider, which he made from the apples in his orchard. He was as thin as a pencil and the cleverest of them all. Boggis and Bunce and Bean, one fat, one short, one lean. These horrible cooks, these were so different in looks, were none thus equally mean. That's what all the children round about used to sing whenever they saw them. Mr. Fox. On a hill above the valley, there was a wood. In the wood, there was a huge tree. Under the tree, there was a hole. In the hole lived Mr. Fox and Mrs. Fox and their 4 small foxes. Every evening, as soon as it got dark, Mr. Fox would say to Mrs. Fox, Well, my darling, what shall it be this time? A plump chicken from Boggis, a duck or goose from Bunce, or a nice turkey from Bean? And when Mr. Fox had told him what she wanted, Mr. Fox would creep down into the valley in the darkness of night and help himself. Boggis and Bunce and Bean knew very well what was going on, and it made them wild with rage. They were not men who liked to give anything away. Less still did they like anything to be stolen from them. So every night, each of them would take his shotgun and hide in a dark place somewhere on his own farm, hoping to catch the robber. But Mr. Fox was too clever for them. He always approached a farm with the wind blowing in his face. That meant that if any man were lurking in the shadows ahead, the wind would carry the smell of that man to Mr. Fox's nose from far away. Thus, if Mr. Boggis was hiding in his chicken house number 1, "Box that lousy beast!" cried Boggis. "I'd like to rip his guts out," said Bunce. "He must be killed," cried Bean. "But how?" said Boggis. "How on earth can we catch the blighter?" Bean picked his nose delicately with a long finger. "I have a plan," he said. "You have never had a decent plan yet," said Bunce. "Shut up and listen," said Bean. "Tomorrow night, we will all hide just outside the hole where the fox lives. We'll wait there until he comes out, then bang, 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 bang." "Very clever," said Bunce. "But first, we'll have to find his hole." "My dear Bunce, I've already found it," said the crafty Bean. "It's up in the wood on the hill. It's under a huge tree." Chapter 3. The Shooting. "Well, my darling," said Mr. Fox, "what shall it be tonight?" "I think we'll have duck tonight," said Mrs. Fox. "Bring us 2 fat ducks, if you please. One for you and me, and one for the children." "Ducks it shall be," said Mr. Fox. "Bunce is best." "Now do be careful," said Mrs. Fox. "My darling," said Mr. Fox, "I can smell those goons a mile away. I can even smell one from the other. Boggis gives off a filthy stink of rotten chicken skins. Bunce reeks of goose livers, and as for Bean, the fumes of apple cider hanging around him are like poisonous gas." "Yes, but just don't get careless," said Mrs. Fox. "You know they'll be waiting for you, all 3 of them." "Don't you worry about me," said Mr. Fox. "I'll see you later." But Mr. Fox would not have been quite so cocky had he known where the 3 farmers were waiting at that moment. They were just outside the entrance to the hole, each one crouching behind a tree with his gun loaded. And what's more, they had chosen their positions very carefully, making sure that the wind was not blowing from them towards the fox's hole. In fact, it was blowing in the opposite direction. There was no chance of them being smelled out. Mr. Fox crept up the dark tunnel to the mouth of the hole. He poked his long, handsome face out into the night air and sniffed once. He moved an inch or 2 forward and stopped. He sniffed again. He was always especially careful when coming out from the hole. He inched forward a little more. The front half of his body was now in the open. His black nose twitched from side to side, sniffing and sniffing the scent of danger. He found none, and he was just about to go trotting forward into the wood when he heard something, or thought he heard a tiny noise, a soft rustling sound, as though someone had moved a foot ever so gently through a patch of dry leaves. Mr. Fox flattened his body against the ground and lay very still, his ears pricked. He waited a long time, but he heard nothing. "Must have been a field mouse," he told himself, "or some other small animal." He crept a little further out of his hole, and further still. He was almost right out in the open now. He took a last careful look around. The wood was murky and very still. Somewhere in the sky, the moon was shining. Just then, his sharp night eyes caught the glint of something bright behind a tree not far away. It was a small silver speck of moonlight shining on a polished surface. Mr. Fox lay still, watching it. What on earth was it? Now it was moving. It was coming up and up. Great heavens, it was the barrel of a gun! Quick as a whip, Mr. Fox jumped into the hole, and at that same instant, the entire wood seemed to explode around behind him. Bang, 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 bang! The smoke from the 3 guns floated up in the night air. Boggis, Bunce, and Bean came out from behind their trees, and walked towards the hole. Tattered, blood-stained remains of a fox's tail. Bean picked it up. "Well, we got the tail, but we missed the fox," he said, tossing the thing away. Dang a blast, said Bogus. We shot too late. We should have let fly the moment he poked his head out. He won't be poking it out again in a hurry, Bunce said. Bean pulled a flask from his pocket and took a swig of cider. Then he said, I'll take 3 days at least before he gets hungry enough to come out again. I'm not sitting around here waiting for that. Let's dig him out. Ah, said Bogus. Now you're talking sense. We can dig him out in a couple of hours. I know he's there. I reckon there's a whole family of them down the hall. All my regulars who are on here all the time. It's great to see you. Hey, have a great day, and we'll catch up with you tomorrow. Ka kite anō.